Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. How are we all this evening? We all
good.
fine, lovely,
Good.
jubbly. So we're back with another episode of Sit Down. As you're aware, if you've watched any of our stuff, we keep the video game stuff for the podcast, and with the sit down interviews, we get a little bit more serious, or we attempt to get a little bit more serious and a bit more normal, and we fail on both counts. So absolutely. So this week it's a bit of a strange one for me, to be perfectly honest, but we're welcoming on somebody who I have known the actual entirety of my entire life. So welcome, Ashley. Welcome, Ashley, to the channel. Thank you very much for coming on. We appreciate you taking some of your valuable time to sit down with us fucking idiots for a little bit. So yeah,
no bother. You're welcome.
So the reason we kind of we asked you to come on is obviously we try and get people from sort of all walks to do the interviews and to get a bit of difference. If you look at the videos we've done so far, it's quite different. We've had people that are in our friendship circle, we've had people from charities, we've had people who are PTs. So the last one we did was a PT that knows flump. So it's very varied. So we kind of thought if we get somebody on, I get my sister on. I've got nobody else interesting, so I thought, fuck it, let's just get Ashley on.
Fabulous.
So we kind of wanted to do it along the lines of speaking about Jack, who's obviously your son, my nephew. Because I think it's a very interesting story. It's as much as it has its positives and it has its down points as well. It is a very, very interesting story. So first of all, could you give us a bit of a background on Jack, as in age, what he likes, what he doesn't like, all the rest of it?
So Jack is 9. He was 9 in June. He is my 4th child and my only boy. He is, when you say worshipped, I don't think I'm really, that he's worshipped.
So accurate.
Yeah. Whether it's at home or school, the little shit is worshipped. He is, how do we put Jack? He's a challenge, but gets away with most things in life because he is so handsome, allegedly. But yeah, no, he attends mainstream school, but he attends a primary school in Arbroath, and he is in the base of that school due to his additional needs. And yeah, in some ways you could say Jack is a typical, if you want to use that word, sort of boy. He's loud, he runs around, causes chaos wherever he goes. But obviously Jack is autistic, Jack is epileptic, so therefore Jack has additional needs, and we have the challenges that come with said disabilities. So yeah.
Absolutely. And in terms of, you kind of touched on it there with the autism and the epilepsy. Could you give us a bit more of a background into that? If if there's official diagnosis that go along with that, and just kind of give us an idea of medically what Jack faces.
Yeah, of course. So when Jack was 3 months old, that was when he had his first seizure. So as you can imagine, he was just a babe in arms, this tiny. I say tiny, he was a big fat baby, but he was just this tiny babe. And to be honest, the first time he did it, I wasn't quite sure what he was doing, really, and coming from, this is my 4th child, you kind of think you would know what you were doing, but still, you're a bit like, what are you doing type thing. It was very out of the ordinary. And then he had another one. And at that point, when he had another one, he was sort of the fists were sort of clenched, his whole body went sort of rigid, and it was just, as you can imagine, not very nice to witness. Yeah. So we got, obviously, I phoned his dad, I phoned obviously paramedics. They came out and said, look, we need to go to, obviously, 9 wells, it's best to get it checked over, blah, blah, blah. And when we went up, they were very much, oh, we really don't know quite what's going on. We're not sure it's epilepsy. You know, obviously, we're aware that babies can have seizures for a variety of reasons when they're young. Typically, maybe down to due to if they're unwell, they have a fever, that can make them have a seizure. Yep. So Jack got tested, and they actually at the time diagnosed him with a really bad urine infection. And so the seizure was put down to that at the time. So we had a couple of days in hospital, we got antibiotics, things like that, and we were allowed home. I think it was about 3 or 4 days we stayed in hospital. We were home for the weekend. Christopher was part of the team that did a Tough Mudder for the family at that point, that weekend. And we managed to get up to see, you know, Christopher and my mum and sister do the Tough Mudder. And by the Monday, he'd had another seizure. So we're like, something just wasn't quite right here. So anyway, we goes back in, and that was when we got the sort of the epilepsy. This is where we were going down the epilepsy route of things. We got a scan of the brain and found that Jack had an abnormality on the left-hand side of the brain. At that stage, it was just an abnormality. They weren't sure what it was. They weren't sure if that was what was having, that was why Jack was having seizures. It was just very sort of vague, if you like, at that point. But we were going to go down the epilepsy route. So we got started on some epilepsy medicine. That was fine. And, you know, generally it was a bit of a rough start, but due to medication and sort of a little sort of tinkering with that, we eventually got him quite settled. Yep. And then Jack has something what we called absent seizures. So it's not necessarily where sometimes when you think of a seizure, you think of someone sort of tensing up or rolling about the floor, shaking, or shaking, trembling, collapsing, things like that. Absent seizures present quite differently. It's very much where he stands and he just stares into the distance. Like there's absolutely, the lights are on but no one's home. That's probably a very non-PC way of saying it, but that's just how we describe Jack. He was just not with us at all. And what we do now to bring Jack back, if you like, with us, when Jack's having these seizures, we allow it to roll. It happens maybe 3, 4, 5 seconds, so they're very quick. And he will usually bring himself back. It's just almost like, okay, that's we're done, and we go back to, you know, causing chaos again. But if he's taking a bit longer and we're noticing it, I will go up to him and I'll just basically touch his nose, and it's almost like that's enough for him to go, oh shit, right, okay, you know, this is what we're doing, type of thing. And we've had this now, as I say, Jack's 9, so we've had this for 9 years. So to us, it's quite normal with what he's doing with his absent seizures. We have recently changed medication. Obviously, as Jack got older, we've sort of, you know, come off one medication, went on to another. He is under the neurology department for checkups. So that's really the epilepsy side of things. It's quite well controlled, to be fair, on that side of things. With the autism, when I remember it very clearly, Christopher will probably be able to say, when Jack was 6 weeks old, we had the health visit him, and I said to the health visit at the time, Jack is different. There's something different about this child. Now, when I say different, I didn't mean a bad different. It was just that after having previous babies, he just wasn't maybe smiling as much as I would like to at that point. He wasn't making babbling sounds. Eye contact was non-existent. It just wasn't there. It wasn't Christopher. It just wasn't with us. So there was just sort of little subtle signs that it was just like, okay. And again, you know, there's nothing bad about it. It was just that I noticed that it just wasn't what my other children, you know, typically, shall we say, had done. And I remember saying to the health visit, he's different. And so, of course, with that in mind, I just was aware that, you know, Jack could be a different child to the girls. And I get, you know, boys and girls are very different and they do different things. They grow very differently. I get it. And we got to the stage where Jack was about 1. And I was very much like, yes, he does have autistic traits. You know, as I say, the lack of eye contact, the tiptoe walking, just very different behaviour that he was displaying. And so Jack, we were very lucky with Jack. He was diagnosed somewhere between 18 months and 2 years old. So, nowadays they don't like to diagnose children till maybe they're about 4 or 5, possibly even later. Again, to see how they develop. You know, it might just be that they're just taking a bit longer with their speech skills, social skills, you know, and that's true. But I think with Jack, it was very evident that he was autistic at that stage. So we got the diagnosis very early on. And did the diagnosis change how we treated Jack? Absolutely not. You know, Jack was Jack. You know, and I've written that. That's basically what I've written in my notes. Jack is Jack. That's just it. You know, every child is who they are. So Jack is under obviously neurology for his epilepsy. He's under a consultant paediatrician for like his well-being sort of things. You know, like obviously growing up, puberty. You know, obviously the autism side of things can bring lack of sleep. Jack is not a fan of sleeping. We've had really fussy eating habits. You know, and so all of those things are under his paediatrician that we get advice from. He gets medication to help sleep, because a lot of children with autism, they refrain from sleeping quite a lot, shall we say. And you know, and that's maybe great for him. It's not great for me, and a person who loves their sleep. When we have Jack, who, like, just last week, Jack was up, it was 1:45 in the morning till just about after 5. Excellent. You know, so that's quite a quick time scale for Jack to be up. And when I say he's awake and we're up during the night, we're not just talking he's up and we're lying on the sofa and we're watching a nice sort of film on the iPad. We're up and we're causing fucking chaos. Like, you know, he's hyper, the brain is active, the brain is wanting to go 100 miles an hour, not really caring what time of day it is. So that's really sort of the two medical sides that we have for Jack, neurology and his paediatrician for sort of keeping him, shall we say, a well-balanced machine.
I think, just obviously Jack is probably the most obvious thing that we'll say tonight.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and I mean, Fletch has got his son Ruben, who's going through the process of going down the same kind of line along the autism side.
Yep.
So I'm sure he can attest to the non-sleeping and all the rest of it.
Yeah. So. This is why I'm in a hotel.
He's away for work.
No, I'll jump in for a couple of minutes.
Go.
So for us, Ruben was exactly the same. So between that 18 months to a year and a half, the health visitor literally said, it's there.
Yeah.
But like you said yourself, with the paediatrician doesn't like diagnosing early.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got everything in place from just the health visitor writing the letter. So Ruben's got a special buggy that's got a harness because he likes to escape.
Mm-hmm.
He's got obviously the benefit side in place for the financials.
Mm-hmm.
He's in a resource nursery in Arbroath at one of the schools. But we've seen the paediatrician 2 weeks ago, and she's all but said she's going to diagnose. So so we were there, and he's 3.5. 3.5.
Okay.
So and I when you were talking, I was like, yep.
So you know, I think many parents that have an autistic child, you know, their traits are very some of them are very similar, like the lack of sleep, you know, the stimming, the loudness, the tiptoe walking, you know. Jack, I don't know about your son, but Jack has a very specific thing that he likes, which is sticks. And you know, and he's always, like, even when he was a baby, like, you know, padding about, it was a stick. and I don't even know if I can show it. I don't even know if it's actually upstairs. But we go through, Christopher will tell you, shitload of duct tape because he likes a stick with like duct tape on the end. And it's in his brain, it obviously makes complete sense.
Yeah.
So we have, and he goes about with the stick. So Jack's not one to maybe play with normal toys.
Yeah.
You know, like we have, that is Jack's corner there. It's full of toys, you know. But give the boy a stick. You know, he likes the iPad. He's very much, he can repeat word for word off of Peppa Pig, Ben and Holly, you know, and like whenever you see him, or like he'll just constantly, like, so if Christopher was to come in the house, Jack would probably be stimming. 9 times out of 10, Jack would be naked. He's not a fan of clothes in the house at all, with his stick on his tiptoes, making noise, and like you come in and he'll maybe say to Uncle Christopher, like something about Peppa Pig, or there's a traffic jam, and and you'd be like, oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. And he, of course, in his brain, that makes complete sense what he's saying and doing. But yeah, no, there's I mean, it's hard work. Don't get me wrong. I mean,
of course, yeah. Like with Ruben, it's juice. Like he has to have a cup of juice at all times. Yeah. He knows the people who's meant to be in the house. So if anyone comes in the house, he's straight away going bye, and pushing them out the house, pushing them away, climbing on furniture and just wanting to front flip off it.
That's a boy. Yeah, that's a boy thing.
Normal
that's a boy thing.
And like I say, normal toys. You'll look at them for 10 seconds, and it's like away it goes, and he's away onto something else. So
100%.
Yeah,
definitely.
And it seems to be the same cartoons. Like he's been like Peppa, Ben, and Holly.
Yeah.
And he likes Bluey sometimes, but there's no consistency.
Yeah.
And like with words, we'll get the normal, like the mum and the dad and stuff. But if he says new words, we don't hear it again for months.
Yeah.
Excellent. Kind of just obviously you touched on Jack's, the people that he sees for his well-being. So in terms of moving forward with Jack, he's 9 years old, which you know, in a couple of years you've obviously got a whole set of different problems that are potentially about to come along with what Jack currently is like at the minute. So what does Jack's life look like in terms of going forward into preteen, into a teenager, and into a young adult from where he is now?
From a parent's point of view, it's quite a scary thought. Like I said, obviously a few weeks ago we were on holiday, and that the paediatrician actually phoned me. We had a catch up and stuff, and you know, we had a very. I'm one of those people that I know you probably, Christopher's probably the same. But very much matter of fact, very much just say it as it is. Don't bullshit, don't sugarcoat it, just tell me how it is, and then that's, you know, the facts basically. You know, you could work better with the facts. And I think that's why myself and the paediatrician get along so well, because she knows she's not frightened to say anything to me, because I'm not going to be like, oh, you know, whereas and I say this a lot to people, there's nothing anyone, and I mean anyone, could say to me that I have not already thought myself. You know, there's no scenario I've not thought of. There's no anything. You know, there's just nothing you could say to me that I've not had, whether it be a fleeting moment or I've thought about it for a long time. There's nothing you can say to me that I've not thought myself. And so, also go back to your question, we spoke about the paediatrician now. She said that she feels Jack mentally is around 2 or 3 years old. Again, which we all knew, just by sort of Jack's lack of speech, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, and I'm, you know, I was always fine with that. She said on the phone call that she wasn't sure that Jack would maybe progress further than that. Again, yeah, that's absolutely fine. I don't think he will either. She also said that she doesn't think Jack will ever live independently. Again, absolutely not. When you see Jack and know Jack now, there's not a hope in hell of of me thinking that he would be able to live on his own. So to touch upon your question, Chris, I think he will always be with either myself or his dad.
Yep.
He will always be in the house with one of us. Obviously Jack's in P5, so we've got 2 years left, and then obviously we have the secondary school element. The school that he's in just now is the best place for Jack I could ever have imagined putting him. The teachers love him. He loves the teachers. They're fully aware of Jack's needs. Even when they're getting slapped across the face some days, they're fully on board with it. So in 2 years' time, there will be the worry of, do we put him to a high school here? There's also Carnoustie High School, which have an excellent ASN base. Or there's also, we've just touched upon it a few times, there's Kings Park School in Dundee, which is a specialist ASN school, a school for additional needs. And again, so the next couple of years will be talks with obviously the school he's at, the paediatrician, what Derek and I think. Derek is Jack's dad, and hopefully together we can all come together and sort of in an agreement of where Jack should be placed. But it's a very scary concept when you think of Jack. I don't know about you, Chris, but you probably think of him being older as well, and you just think he's just going to be. It's really weird because obviously you think as your kids, they grow up, they go to high school, maybe college, uni, go and get a job. They piss about for a few years, they settle down, they go and get boyfriends, girlfriends, all that kind of, stereotypical, if you like, things that, people do. And Jack won't do any of that. That's just not what he's going to be able to do. So for us, it'll have to be adapted to a new norm for us. But again, whatever Jack does, we just go along with it. And as long as he's happy, after he's loved, then that's all you can do really as parents and families. Just make sure that they're loved and looked after, and then everything else sort of follows on after that, really.
Everything else is sort of irrelevant, if you're honest, after that. None of it matters. He's not going to grow up to be a lawyer or a pilot or this, that, and the next thing. And they're all nice dreams to have for your kids. But the practicality is, he's going to be heavily reliant on his family.
Absolutely.
And obviously yourself and his dad for the rest of his life. And that is scary and as harsh a reality as that might be, that is, you said earlier, we are very matter of fact people by our very nature, and that is just the matter of the fact that it's going to be that way for the rest of his life.
Of course. I will just add to that as well, I'm very lucky that obviously we have the two girls, so he's got obviously two older sisters here. We've got Alex and Libby, and they, again, I touched upon at the top of the show, they worship the ground that this boy walks on, and vice versa. As much as he takes the piss out of his sisters, he absolutely adores them. And Alex here, she is very hands-on with them, very much like a second mum, if you like, and and she knows how to play them and how to work them. And Libby as well. When Jack goes to his dad's house, Libby is there. And sort of Libby takes the mum role, if you like, and very no nonsense, very routine, So without the girls, he would be lost. He would be, the boy would be lost. As with Derek and I, we really would be lost without them, because they put a lot of time and effort into him, and it's not always shown back from Jack, because obviously. The emotion side of Jack is not, it could be anger, it could be happy, but he adores his two sisters. He does. Absolutely.
No, absolutely. And that's it's sorry, on you go, Fletch.
I said that's the same with Ruben, mate. He's got two older sisters that totally and they're slightly younger. They're only 10 and 11, but they still, play well and know what he likes and stuff.
Yeah.
And going back to what you're also saying about secondary school, my sister is going through that with my nephew as well. So my nephew is now in 6th year.
Okay.
So he went from mainstream at his head.
Okay.
Primary school and moved up to the Arbroath Academy.
Okay.
And that school, that department, the ASN department has worked miracles with him.
Yeah.
And she's going through that sort of where next sort of moment of what does he do next, because like you were saying, academically he is unreal. He's like so smart. Socially, he's not there.
Yeah.
And like sort of life skills.
Yeah.
Like the personal hygiene, and
Yeah.
like dealing with money and stuff.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have it. So she's going through that thought of what next and where next, and
Absolutely.
and I actually, it's great because my sister's autistic as well, so I've got the experience she's had with her kids to look to for advice of what do we do for Ruben in this one, what.
Yeah.
So, and Ruben's though she's like the only one that Ruben goes to really.
Yeah.
That if we need like a night off of that, she'll come and just sit with him because he's mental. He's just crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And he's a bit too much for the grandparents.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
You kind of it kind of leads me quite nicely on to the next question. You'd obviously Fletch had obviously mentioned his sister and using her as almost like a support network, if you like. And you mentioned obviously the girls, Alex and Libby, who obviously since Jack was a baby, they've taken on that. They've almost done the sister plus job.
Yes.
Like it's not, it's not, they didn't just stop at being a sibling. It was sister plus whatever else he needed.
Absolutely.
And he does. Like if you see Jack walking, you'll see one of the two of them walking about 2 feet behind him, picking shit up or making sure he doesn't run out in front of traffic, or there's always one of them. It's like having like the world's most obvious bodyguard just stood right behind them. So it's good, and it's really nice to see.
Yeah.
So on support networks, Ashley, obviously you mentioned the girls, and you mentioned obviously Jack's dad having obviously quite an active part in his life.
Yeah.
How important is that support network to you, and is there anything, can you give us a bit more insight into who's around you and who supports you?
It's so before we read into it, so obviously Derek and I separated when Jack was just 6 months old. So obviously he was a baby, obviously none the wiser of what was happening. But we made a very conscious decision, Derek and I, that, we were obviously shit together as husband and wife, but as, parents, we could still parent our children.
Yes, absolutely.
And when you have a child like Jack who has additional needs extra support, you need to work together. It makes life easier, let's be honest, if the two of you can work together. And and don't get me wrong, I'm speaking to three men here. Derek is a man. You can be fucking useless half the time.
Yes, we can.
And I shout at Derek and I'm like, for the love of fuck, if you just did it my way, but all the usual kind of crap, right? Anyway, I digress. But it is, we get on brilliantly rather. He will just walk into my house, I just walk into his house, and I'm a massive believer that has definitely helped Jack. Jack is one for routine, loves the routine. If it doesn't happen, then you're all fucked, basically, type of thing. So the Jack goes for tea on a Monday and a Thursday, and it's just for 2 hours. But Jack knows that that's happening. I will drop Jack off at Derek's. Again, I'll just walk in, hi, and and it's very very chilled. There's no animosity between the two of us, and it just helps, you know, to run everything. I know I'm very lucky when I say this. So with obviously Derek and I being together, I get one night at a weekend. One night it'll be 1 week it'll be a Friday night. The next week it'll be a Saturday night that Jack goes and actually stays over at Derek's house. Yep. Now I'm fully aware that people may watch this and people we know, even like yourself, Fletch, you know, might not be that lucky that you get that one night of just doing nothing. You know, it's not. You know, it's not as if I look forward to a Friday or the Saturday, whatever week it is, and think, oh, it's great, I'm going to go out partying or I'm going to do this and that. It's just like, fuck, I can sleep. It's like, yes! You know, it's not, it's just, you know, so we are very lucky in that respect. And I'm aware that, you know, so Derek really only has to have Jack one night a week, you know, and also the other 6 I have him. So it's a massive burden, you know, when you have a child that is constantly needing, and, you know, the minute he wakes up to the minute he goes to bed, it's just, it's like 100 miles an hour, you know, and then some. So I am aware I am very lucky that I get that one night a week that I can just, you know, Derek's in charge for a few hours, I get to sleep, you know. So that works, you know, for us. My mum as well, she has Jack for a couple of hours on a Saturday afternoon, so between 1 and 3 is her time, mainly because obviously when the girls were growing up, she had, you know, them for maybe a couple of hours, taking to McDonald's, all that kind of stuff, so she wanted to do the same for Jack. And again, it's routine for Jack. You know, he knows that on a Saturday that Nanny is coming. As I say, if Jack's up at Derek's, she'll go up to Derek's to pick him up. If he's here, she'll come here. So again, we're lucky that we have that, and he's away for a couple of hours, and, you know, if Derek is away for the weekend, I know that I get those 2 hours to maybe do a bit of shopping or, you know, tidy up the house, a bit of washing, and all the exciting stuff that you have to do in between. So we have them, and then obviously we've got Christopher and Ellis, that obviously he sees, and, you know, that he knows, like Uncle Chris, he calls him Uncle Chris, and you know, so they're in and about, you know, whenever we need them, and the school is a great help. You know, they're just very much on. They know Jack. I can leave Jack at 9 o'clock in the morning and not have to worry about him. You know, they're very clued up on him. I'll only get a phone call if Jack's unwell. You know, and I know that some schools will maybe phone and go, oh, well, he's done this, or, you know, he's broken this, or he's done this, and I'm like, oh, you know, whereas they just phone, like, if he's really unwell, like, Ashley needs to come and get him. Other than that, they just take care of him, and I know I'm very, very lucky, and I worship. There's one lady in particular at the school, who Jack loves, is Jack's main teacher. She has over 30 years of experience of dealing with ASN children. So if anything, she is the perfect individual to leave your child with. And I adore her. I adore the bones of that woman. She is just amazing. So again, I do class myself as very lucky in the support that, you know, that I have around me. Because I know that a lot of people are not so lucky in that respect.
Yeah, it's a really good outlook that you've got, to be perfectly honest. And you're my sister, so you're not going to get very many compliments out of me. But you know, to have that outlook when you've faced the challenges that you've faced, you know, things that we've talked about and things that we've not even talked about here, to be able then to look at that situation and go, I get one night out of 7 free. To look at it and go, well, shit, that's great. I've got one night where I can switch off. I can watch shite on the TV. I can get a takeaway. I can have a glass of wine. I can do whatever. Instead of looking at along the lines of going, fucking hell, it's another 6 days before I get a minute's peace. You know, so to be perfectly fair to you, the outlook is incredible that you've decided to adopt, because it would be very easy to slip the other way, and, you know, issues with. I mean, we've talked about mental health on this channel so many times, and we're big advocates. We had Andy's Man Club on a couple of weeks ago, and it's so easy to slip into a state of mind where everything's negative and everything's
100%.
hard and everything's difficult. So fair play to you to be able to actually have that outlook on life, and that is your one compliment, and that is the only one that you're getting. So
thank you so
much. Anyway,
just moving on.
Yeah, I will just quickly shift past that. In terms of medical institutions and help and charities, what kind of support do you receive from? And I'm talking throughout Jack's life, not just now, but obviously you touched a little bit on it at the very start about the epilepsy, but in terms of whether it's the NHS or whether it's organisations or charity, what support do you receive from?
So from Jack has an epilepsy nurse that I can email, should I think that there's he's having a different type of seizure, or he's maybe having a few more than I would like to see. I just email her, and say, look, this is the situation, and she will then relay it to Jack's neurologist. Because as you can imagine, trying to get to speak to a neurologist is, it's not going to happen in this lifetime. So, the epilepsy, and I know her personally as well. She's a lovely woman, and she's very much, yep, that's great, Ashley, leave it with me, maybe a couple of days. Let me send it to the doctor, see what he says, and she will always come back with an answer, even if it's just like, no, we're absolutely fine with this. If there's any more, please contact us. So it's just a little bit of reassurance, which everyone needs in time. And as I say, I've touched upon Jack's paediatrician. I know that again, because we've had her involved in Jack's life for the last sort of 7 years, if you like. Again, I just email. There's an email address, and I'm just like almost verbal diarrhea to her at sometimes. And she's a very busy lady. I have a feeling that Fletch could be the same paediatrician that we're using, and very busy lady. But she will always get back to me and say, she'll very happily, oh, I agree with you, or I don't agree with you. And you need that clarity that at the end of the day, that's her job. You go to her for advice. With regards to, and also, as I say, the school is a massive part. I attend a couple of groups. There's one within the school. Again, it's just for parents with additional needs. We just meet for a cuppa. We might chat about our children. We might not chat about our children. It's just very much, you're in the similar boat. So if you're having a bit of a crisis, there's people there that can understand what you're going through. There is another group, and it's called the Sunshine Group. And if anyone was to type in Sunshine Group Angus Council on Google, you will find details there of the groups. And again, they run groups for parents and carers with children with not necessarily, you don't need a diagnosis of autism. They might just have some needs. They might need some support. And it's a great group. I have been with the Sunshine Group for maybe at least 6.5 years, I would say. And again, you meet up and, you have a cuppa. It's a very relaxed situation. And again, there's usually someone in the same boat as yourself. They've maybe not slept for a few nights. They're maybe going through maybe some hospital visits. They're maybe having a shit time themselves. And sometimes there's groups that I've walked into and, people are crying and you're like, oh my God, what's happening? But again, it's a safe space for them just to let it out, have a cry. Sometimes you feel better after you've had a cry and you've had a moan and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's a great sort of place for parents and carers just to let off a bit of steam. And as I say, sometimes you might not want to speak about your child. You're maybe just quite happy listening and just, the weather's lovely today, just very general chit chat. You don't have to speak about your child. It's very much what you want to share.
Yeah.
So there is that group as well. Jack also, in the last couple of years, has started to attend the Angus Special Play Scheme. And again, that is a lifeline for myself in the holidays.
Yeah.
You know, sort of the Easter and the tatty holidays are not too bad. It's only 2 weeks, but the summer is a fucking pisser. You know, 7 weeks is a long fucking time to love your children. And 24 hours a day. You know, so that's great that, you know, Jack has that he can go again. It's actually just at the Freakum Hub. They've just recently moved out there. They've got a great outdoor area that's all enclosed. So Jack can't escape, or any other child can escape. A great indoor area. And again, it just gives me that 1 day a week where he can go, he can interact with other children his age. He might not want to, but the option is there should he want to. But again, it gives the parents and the carers a bit of a breathing space. And, you know, if they've maybe had a shit night, not sleeping, they can drop their kid off and then either go back to bed for a couple of hours, go and do what they need to do, sit in silence for a few hours. You know, there's something things you can do. So yeah, I would say those are my my main groups. And as I say, it's great that these things exist, you know, because, you know, and I think, you know, talking about them and getting them out there so that other people are aware that they exist, so that should other people hear it and think, that might be for me, then absolutely, definitely try one of those.
100%. It's kind of what we're trying to do here as well. We kind of pick topics that mean something to us, and and if it means somebody, like, I mean, Andy's Man Club is the perfect example of what we did a couple of weeks ago. If it means something to somebody who hears it at the right time, you know, if it makes one person's day, or it makes somebody's day just that little bit easier and a little bit more bearable, then as far as I'm concerned, we've done what we need to do.
100%.
Right, we're near the end. Ashley,
okay.
So we're getting.
I think he's still awake, so you know your thing. Yeah.
Jesus,
I've just had a message. He is still awake.
Raging.
I've got time. If you don't mind.
Go for it.
I'm going to come in with here with a curveball question, and I know you've probably been prepared of what's been a way to get asked of you.
Okay.
But it's something I openly struggle with, so you might be able to give me some advice. So you've also been on this journey with Jack for 9 years.
Yeah.
And you've got 3 other kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I really struggle with, because Ruben needs someone there like constantly. How do you meet the needs of your other children?
So let's not lie, it's hard. So the girls, I was very lucky when the girls were born. They were older. So, you know, I had that sort of going for me. So I didn't have Jack when they were toddlers almost. I had age, you know, on my side. And you know what, it is hard. And I think it's about making sure that they still know that you're there, you know, that you're still very much mum to them as well. And again, I have to big them both up as well, because again, they're very understanding that Jack needs obviously my attention more at times, you know, especially when we're having a meltdown or if there is a seizure in place, if Jack's unwell, you know, and it's basically he needs 24-hour supervision at that point. And it is in, you know, there's times where, and especially now that the girls are older, you know, I can maybe say, right, Jack's at school, let's go and do something, you know, and it's about setting time aside that's just for them almost. It could just be an hour, you know what I mean? It could just be you go and get a, you know, fish and chips and sit somewhere and, you know, it's just, it doesn't have to be all singing and dancing, you know, bells and whistles. It's just sometimes the simplest things mean the most, you know. And yeah, it's just, I get, obviously, because how old did you say the other kids were, Fletch?
My girls are 10 and 11, so you being female, you know what's coming.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, and again, you know, it's just about making time, you know, and like, so obviously my girls, you know, Alex is 22 in 2 weeks' time, you know, Libby's 17, you know, so I do have age on my side, and I have had age on my side for a while. So that has worked in my favour. But again, it's just very much, yes, I am still here, you know, I still went to parents' evening, you know, I still made sure they had stuff, you know, it's just, let's not lie, it's hard, you know, let's not pretend it's all fucking rainbows and unicorns, because it's not. And I think accepting that is a thing as well. You have to accept it's not going to be
easy.
This wonderful bright light fairy tale. As much as we all want one, you know, 9 times out of 10 it doesn't happen. But yeah, no, definitely setting time aside, specifically whether it's one-on-one, you know, you and your partner with the girls, you know, if your sister can have Ruben, you know, there's sort of ways that we can maybe, you know, work around it. But it's definitely, it just needs work. That's the only advice I could give to you. It just needs work, and it's just the logistics of sorting it. But yeah, as I say, even if it's for an hour, a poke of chips or a walk, or, you know what I mean, just something so simple is the best thing. Is the best advice I can give to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Very, very good advice, to be fair. I think it's, you know, you could say the same for, you know, when you've got multiple children. You know, it's important that you set time aside for those children, because they're individuals at the end of the day. You know, it's not clones that you've got. It's you know, for me personally, I've got 2 very, very different children who have different likes and dislikes, and I can't apply a one size fits all sort of strategy to it. And you know, it would be the same. It's trying to find that time, which it's hard, to be fair, because we've all, you know, we've all got stuff going on, and you know, work and kids and all the rest of it. It's difficult. It's difficult.
Yeah, of course it is.
No, perfect. That is pretty much us.
Okay.
Ashley. Again, from my point of view, obviously, thank you very much for coming on. The story is one that obviously I'm very familiar with, but it's nice to get a different perspective on it, and to you know, share it, and the if you can remind me just very quickly of the 2 groups that you use as a support. What we'll do is we'll make sure all the links and everything are down in the description in case anybody sees this and thinks, where do I go? We'll make sure that we do that. So what were the 2 groups?
First one is the Anchor Special Play Scheme.
Yep.
Again, quick search on Google, you'll get that. And the second one is the Sunshine Group. Again, if you were to type in Sunshine Group Anchors Council, you'll get details. And it's a lady called Amanda Scott, who's a beautiful human. And she will be able to point you in the direction of a group. And if you're lucky, I'm in it's the Arbroath Carnoustie Montefieth group. And if you're lucky, you'll be able to see my ugly mug in a group.
No.
At some point. I promise I'm not as scary as I make out to be. I'm quite a nice.
No, she's worse. Don't listen to her. She's worse.
I've denounced the Beatles.
That's a different Ashley.
That's end of the night, Ashley. That's definitely no Bonnie. Fucking hell. But no, listen, again, thank you very much for taking the time. We do these things so that we can try and get awareness out, and like I said, if it resonates with one person, then I'm absolutely fine with that.
Absolutely.
So again, thank you very much for your time, Fletch Flump. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you.
It really has.
And thank you all very much, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Thank you.